G'day folks. Well, as you can see, another test subject has arrived in my workshop. This is a Samsung front load washer. I haven't had one of these before, but it's still got the design traits and cheapness of pretty much every other front loader sold in Australia. Only the good all stainless steel washer dryer combos seem to be the ones that last. The Bosch, Miele, that sort of thing. They're not too bad, even though I don't really approve of the lack of water that they use. They seem to work okay. But these cheap Chinese ones, even though it's a Korean brand, it even has made in China printed on the bloody label. So it's a Chinese made, Korean branded piece of junk. It's not even that old. I can't remember exactly how old it is, but made in China, serial number, I don't know, it's not that old. The guy who got rid of it said it's really only a few years old. And if we carefully put it on its side, you can see what's happened. That counterweight has completely dismantled itself. I don't know what kind of filler they use, but it almost looks like iron. I know there's reinforcing in there, of course, but yeah, that counterweight has completely come apart, and apparently it wasn't leaking water. Like, water hasn't done that. The filler or whatever composition they used for the concrete has just failed. So it's expanded and split the plastic mounting on the drum. It might have cracked the drum, but it just looks like whatever they've mixed with it has just expanded gradually and just come apart. So that's really bad news for this machine. I'll carefully bust the rest of that out and remove the top counterweight for the stress test that this is going to undergo. The outer drum is spring clipped together, doesn't have screws or anything. It looks like glass filled nylon, so definitely no burning this one. But yeah, lead free certified. Yes, that's being economically, environmentally responsible, using lead-free shit when the bloody... Well, this shouldn't have lead in it anyway, but printed circuit boards and main boards and things which use lead-free solder tend to develop more bad solder joints, cracking, oxidation between the pins causing a semiconductive short. I hate this new ROHS approved lead-free solder stuff. But this shouldn't have lead in it anyway. Maybe the twisted ends of the stator windings and things, the connection points might be soldered, but most of the time they're pressed into these clips anyway. So that's a bit odd that they put lead-free certified on a motor which shouldn't even really need any kind of solder work on it. Oh, apart from maybe the connections up here on the commutator bars, but they're usually resistance welded. Anyway, there's a crappy little water pump there. Coil and everything's floating around on it. I don't like them. Yes, I'll carefully remove the counterweights, hot wire the motor, which just seems to have a standard plug on it again, and we'll see how fast this thing can go. Yeah, this counterweight's made out of inferior grade material. It's just too soft. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Should have just left it in there and let it dismantle itself. Would have fallen apart in no time. Ah, there we go. A few subtle modifications. Nobody'd suspect it's been modified, would they? You got to make sure your wiring and everything's pretty sturdy if you're going to do a death run with a washing machine. I've also made up a little drilling jig for the pallet. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the hot point and bolt it down to the pallet. I'm not going to use the centre hole because this one's a bit off centre. Oh, then again, I can flip the jig around and use all 6 holes, I think. No, even then, they're all different. But I designed the drilling jig off that side, and the outer 2 holes line up anyway, so we'll just go 4 bolts, the hot point was only 2 bolts, and I think it was only on one side. I had 1, 2, and the other side was completely free, and that was more than enough to restrain it and let it expend all of its energy into the outer casing. And that's what you want it to do. You don't want it to jump around, because then it's just wasting energy. But if it can stay stationary on a hard surface, then it's going to put all of that kinetic energy and momentum into the outer casing and cause absolute catastrophic destruction. So yeah, make sure your wiring's well protected. I've used some polypropylene or polyethylene spiral binding and other shit on it. I've deburred all the cut edges on the housing. Yeah, you can only hope that it hangs in there. Make sure the brush wires and things don't come off. Even put a dab of silicone or something over each connection. And make sure you've got a suitable soundtrack too. Sabaton's good for that. Maybe Firestorm or something like that. You've got to have a bit of heavy metal playing when you're killing a washing machine. Unfortunately, I can't do that because of YouTube copyright infringement stuff, but yeah, nothing better than putting an appliance out of its misery to the sound of heavy metal. Yes, and don't forget to remove or at least seriously damage the counterweights so that they become less of an issue once the machine gets going. I'm going to hit this with a ball peen hammer a few more times before I kill this machine. I couldn't quite get that through bolt out without taking the whole front of the machine off, so in the end I just decided to smash it, plus that one's locked. Yeah. This thing's going to be violent. I'm running it off the Variac plus direct current. It's going through my big rectifier pack there, so yeah, it's going to be quite interesting.